Hey everybody, what's going on? Glowplasma231 here, and today we're going to be talking about the 120th chapter of Oshi. This chapter's titled, Lack of Ability. Now, just a few notes before we actually get into the chapter itself. Sorry if this sounds a bit off. I'm recording this in a sort of different spot than I normally like to, and just, if any audio issues are present, I am sorry about that. And some other things to know, today I think the 8th episode of the Oshi anime came out, so that's pretty cool. And also, last time what happened in Oshi, we had pretty much all of the important information going on about Serena's mother, which is Marina Tenendoji. Aqua ended up meeting her, and just to put it lightly, some shit went down between the two of them, right? Aqua, obviously being Goru, knew Serena's mother, and knew that she wasn't a good person, and to see this now, and to know how Seria ended, yeah, it's not pretty good, but we still know that he does not know that Ruby is Seria, that whole deal, but that's besides the point. This chapter, we sort of followed a trend that we've been following in Oshi for a little while, of swapping to a different place, because at this beginning of this chapter, we start in Ibaraki, which is a town in Japan, I'm guessing, because I don't know where it is. I'm not a big Japanese geography dude. I would love to know the Japanese geography, but I don't. And we see that what's going on here is that Become Nahachi, the rebranding of him with Mimcho, Kana, and Ruby, is doing a performance. And the first few pages of this chapter are really detailing Ruby's schedule throughout the time, as we just keep going through dates, right? We don't actually have, like, any dates of the week, right? But we just get 6 p.m. joint live outdoor stage performance, Become Nahachi's performing. We see Kana being the lead girl in the front. I have to say, I totally forgot about that plot point. Just, I always think of, oh, it's Ruby's singing. Oh, yeah, Mimcho's there, but no, Kana is very important when it comes to it. So, yeah, that's the whole thing. 9 p.m., they are commuting back home. I really like this sort of thing that Ruby's in the back, like, reading a book or whatever, probably a script. Mimcho is passed out in the front seat, just completely passed out. And we see that Kana's here, and Kana is pretty much just looking at Ruby, so that's pretty interesting. 11 p.m., they are returning home. Next morning, we see 8:30 p.m., and they are, or 8:30 a.m., and they are going to school as, oh no, Oshi no Kowiki. So then we see at 8:30 a.m. Ruby is coming to school, as we see that she's there and she waves her friend Minami, and there's a whole thing saying morning and good morning between the two of them. And at 10:30 a.m. Ruby is leaving early, as we see the same exact shot, just it does seem a bit more zoomed in, as we see Minami's also here saying, hey, good luck, girl, as Ruby's run out the door saying, thanks, see ya. It's a little bit interesting, so sure. We see at 11:30 a.m. there is a briefing for a session of Dig Deep One Chance, and at 12 p.m. they are recording the segment. At 3 p.m. commuting is happening, lunch, and looking over an interview, and also studying for final exams, as we see Ruby's in a car here with the Shun Yozefumi guy, the guy who sort of became, like, Ruby's personal chauffeur and all of that during the whole Dig Deep arc sort of thing. Yeah, he's here. Good to know he's still around. At 4 p.m., there's filming for a late-night variety show going on, and it is 3 total episodes that she's filming. 9:30 p.m., the whole Become Nahachi crew is choreographing a new song and doing YouTube planning meetings at the same time. So, oh my gosh, I can't imagine having to choreograph and do a meeting at the same time. That sounds pretty terrible. 11 p.m. is a private acting lesson, as we see Ruby is trying to improve her acting skill, as Kana is sitting here looking over at her. And at 3 a.m., Ruby is finally going to bed. Depending on when she woke up for school that morning, because if we just, like, sort of think about it, 8:30 a.m., I don't know how far away she is. We'll say she's, I don't know. I know Japan is a lot more of a close-knit community, but also she goes to a specialized school, so let's just say she is 20 minutes out from the school, right? I don't know how long it would take Ruby to get up and get ready in the morning, so let's just say she woke up at 7 and is going to bed at 3 a.m. She's been up for a decent 20 hours there. And then we even see here on the next page that Aqua is asleep, and Aqua ends up waking up as he's walking around, and he ends up passing by Ruby's room, and Ruby is practicing even still past 3 a.m. So there's a good chance Ruby is up 24 hours a day almost, with very little sleep here. But we actually get our first true dialogue of the chapter as Aqua sort of looks in on this and notices Ruby practicing, and Ruby's just like, just as much, nothing for Mama, I have to give it my all. And she's like, it's okay, I should be able to do this too, as we see Aqua still looking in, just like, huh, what's going on in there? She's really pushing herself. We cut to what I'm guessing is the next day at the Strawberry Productions headquarters, as we see producer Kaburagi is here. And he's just sitting down, and he's just like, anyway, we don't have much time until we start filming, so I want you to give Ruby a strict acting lesson, right? And we see the manager here. Oh, what is her name? I am not doing good at remembering. Miyako. That's right, Miyako is here. And Miyako, the pretty much owner of Strawberry Productions, now that Saito isn't really around too much. She's pretty much just like, hey, Ruby is doing her best, and her schedule's already packed. I mean, she doesn't even have much time to sleep. And we've even seen at the time that Ruby does have to sleep, she isn't spending sleeping, she's spending practicing, right? But she's just continuing saying, even yesterday, and Kaburagi's just like, hey, just please adjust her amounts of work, especially during the filming and rehearsal. This movie in particular requires acting skills. And it may be cruel to say this to Ruby, who has no acting experience, but from my point of view, she definitely lacks the needed skill to do this, right? And at this point, we don't really see any more of Kaburagi, as you just see Miyako, and she's sort of just sitting here thinking, like, how dare he say such things after producing a TV drama like Sweet Today? She really has a point there, because Sweet Today was a terrible production where nobody had acting skill besides for Kana, and I guess Aqua, because Aqua sort of showed what he was made of during that. And hey, that's another thing sort of relating this to what's going on in the anime right now. That arc has been shown in the anime. Look at that. Isn't anime always cool whenever it sort of is running at the same time as a manga? And whatever happening in the manga sort of gets referenced in the anime, and you're just like, oh, that's cool, I just watched that happen. Yeah, I really enjoy that. But pretty much, Miyako's just like, but the point is that among them, Ruby doesn't have the ability to play a lead role, as we see that she's sort of thinking about everybody else, like Kana, Akane, Frill, and just all the other people. And she also looks at Aqua and thinks this, which shows that, yeah, Aqua probably can play a good, decent lead role, as we've seen before. And at this point, we do a total tonal shift in the chapter, as we shoot to Kana doing a job, as it looks like what's going on is Kana is either doing a commercial or just an acting gig with cooking food, making heart-shaped stuff with it, and doing all of that. And we eventually see how she very seductively licks a spoon, right? But we see that everything's going on here, and that she's doing this role. And we just hear the words, cut! Okay, Arima-san, that's it. As we see somebody who, to be honest, I never wanted to see again. This manga pops up. This is the guy from the Scandal arc who did things with Kana. This is Masanori Shima, who I'm going to refer as Shima for the rest of this chapter, right? So, this dude Shima's here. I just really didn't want to see this guy here again. Oshi no Ko sort of has that thing where it's an acting manga that shows grievances in the acting industry. And the whole Scandal arc was one that just made me as a reader very deeply uncomfortable. And this guy was mostly why, right? But anyway, Shima's here just like, hey, I thought that was a very difficult role, but you sure made it look easy, right, Kana? As Kana's sort of just like, oh, it was so difficult. What's this obsessed girl wearing her crush's favorite hairstyle and cooking and eating his favorite food like it's the best thing in the world, right? And Shima's just like, yeah, it's an interesting role, isn't it? But he's just like, I thought it was perfect for you. As Kana sort of just like gives him shit, just being like, what kind of girl do you think I am? Oh, this interaction between you two, it just makes me so uncomfortable knowing that entire Scandal arc. It's just, Oh, it's so uncomfortable for me, but I hope it's uncomfortable for our people as much as it is for me. But Shima's pretty much just like, hey, anyway, your performance today really exceeded my expectations, and it'll be a very good scene, so please look forward to seeing it, right? And Kana, as she's sort of taking off this outfit, it's just like, hey, say whatever you want, but I haven't forgotten about your promise to have a well-suited role for me. As he's just like, yeah, of course, that works. As we see that Kana is leaving this area, and from what I can see, Ruby is also here. And from what I can take from this, Ruby has been looking at, or what do you call that? Inspecting Kana? That's not the right word. What is it? She's been just sort of shadowing, I guess you could say, Kana. Sort of just looking at what's going on here. And Kana's just like, well, how was it? Was it helpful at all? Sort of from what I'm guessing, it was just Ruby's trying to look at Kana to see how to more correctly play a role like this. And Ruby's just like, hey, you're amazing after all. I definitely can feel my incompetence around you, right? And she's just like, how can you do it like that? As Kana's just like, well, here's the thing. Understanding yourself and what's inside you, I guess. And she's just like, the feelings of liking this or hating this, you can either extend or expand them and hold them down. If you do that, new rules and lines and emotions will be born within yourself. Whenever you constrict, something new is born. And she's just like, that is what it means to truly study for a role. It is something which you're stuck at doing in the moment. As we see here that Ruby sort of takes this in, and later at night, she's actually trying to sleep, and we see that she's all curled up in her bed, right? And she's just sitting here thinking, understanding yourself. What kind of person am I? And we sort of see a very interesting panel as we see her and Serena together. She's just like, as Ruby, as Serena Tendoji, as we sort of see this notes again, right? Just saying like, but my mother hates me, don't you want to see it, a mother, right? As we see a very creepy visual of Ruby just lying down, and the image, sort of like apparition of Serena appearing beside her, just going, Mother doesn't love me. As we see that Ruby's here and just sort of experience this, and just sort of wakes up just like, no, you're wrong. And she's just like, after all, as we think back to Serena whenever her mother Marino had come by, and she's just like, Mother, you came! How long will you be here? As the mother's just like, well, I have to return to Tokyo as soon as I go and visit your grandmother. And Serena's just like, I see, you're too busy with work, huh? And she's just like, I'm sorry about all this. I need to talk to your doctor, though. As Serena's just like, okay. And she's sort of sitting here. We even see a Biko Nahachi calendar in the background, right? And as Marina's starting to leave, Serena asks, like, hey, Mother, you do love me. And we see that her mother is just like, yes, dear, of course I love you. As we just sort of get this idea of, throughout, like, these past 3 pages, just Ruby thinking, like, after all, those words can be lies, can't they? As we see a really disturbing imagery here. Sort of what I'm getting from this is, we know Serena's experience in that she really didn't have the best experience coming to a mother, and that Ruby is now sort of thinking about this, and sort of taking this, and sort of thinking that, well, my mother, I's whole career was built on lies. So was the final time whenever she said, I love you to her and Aqua, was that a lie too? That's a really powerful moment here to sort of see here. And of course you get the whole thing about how her mother was just truly an asshole. When I say her mother, I'm talking about Marina here, not I, because we know that I tried her best, and that I was a good person very deep down. And just seeing that Ruby is now sort of twisting this, and it really shows how both Ruby and Aqua really need to go to therapy. Like, these 2 children desperately need it. And just like regularly, these 2 need this. But with that, this was a really good chapter of Oshi no Ko. I do really like the whole thing, just with, at the end, the whole creepiness factor to it. I really didn't like the section with Kana. I don't like Kana, and just seeing all of this just makes me go, oh, why do I care? why I don't want to read this, and then just showing how Ruby has to step up for this role, even if she doesn't really want to. But without further ado, this was Oshi no Ko chapter 120. This one is titled Lack of Ability. And hey, we don't have to go on a break next week. We get an Oshi no Ko chapter next week on June 14th, 2023. Yeah, good Oshi no Ko chapter. I'm excited to see where it goes next and what random opening we can start on. But without further ado, I don't have much up to say. And if you're enjoying all of the Oshi no Ko videos, please consider liking the channel, subscribing, doing all that good stuff. And yeah, tell me what you thought of this episode, or not episode, this chapter in the comments below. And without further ado, this is going to be Glowplasma231 out.